Boom! Yes folks, Hume again. How are you going? So welcome to yet another video in our series, the election selection, where we discuss and profile and analyze and project marginal seats in Trinidad and Tobago with a view to kind of getting a sense of what could happen on August the 10th, 2020. Alright, remember, my definition of marginal is any seat that would have changed hands at least once over the last three electoral cycles, 2007, 2010 and 2015. Now before I start the discussion today, I just want to end with something that I forgot to do in the last video, which is just to give the overall tally. So at the end of the St. Joseph video, which is the one that I would have done before this, the tally would now be 29 for the PNM and 18 for, not 29, sorry, 21. I was thinking of the number 39 because 21 and 18 is 39. So 39 seats accounted for in terms of my projections. 21 appears to be headed in the favor of the PNM. 18 appears to be headed in the favor of the UNC. So my humble projection so far is 21 to 18 in favor of the PNM, with 2 seats remaining, San Fernando West, which we will do in this video, and Moruga Tableland, which we will do as the final video in the analytical aspect of the election selection. So with that said, I'm going to do as I always do and make the projection for San Fernando West. Then we'll head to the graph, and then we'll come back out here to give a little talk just to wind up the video. So my projection for San Fernando West, on the basis of available figures, on the basis of presently discernible non-mathematical trends, is that San Fernando West should be heading towards the PNM in 2015. Alright, 2020, sorry. So for the 2020 general election, I will be putting San Fernando West in the PNM column. Alright, so we're going to go across the graph now, discuss it a little bit, and then come back out here and wind up. Alright, so we start off as always with 2007. So in 2007, San Fernando West, the PNM would have recorded 50.2% of the votes cast, compared to 49.4% of the votes cast for the non-PNM. So again, as a classic 51-49 scenario, where the actual tally is somewhere between that, right? I mean, if they had to face a united anti-PNM coalition, that would have probably been one of the closest elections in the history of this country, because the PNM would have tallied 7,371 votes, and the total non-PNM vote was 7,257, a difference of 114. All right, but as we all know, there was a split non-PNM coalition in 2007, so that the records will show that the PNM won that seat by upwards of 2,000 votes, because the highest non-PNM combatant would have scored 4,951 votes in 2007, and then the other party would have gotten 2,306. Alright, so remember, we're doing these things on the basis of PNM versus non-PNM. So in some cases you will see, for 2007 in particular, you'll see the PNM winning with less majority votes, and then there are other cases where, as we have here in San Fernando West, the PNM would have total a majority, even though in this case it was pretty close. Fast forward to 2010, nationwide anti-Manning sentiment, the support dropped from 49.4 to 45.8%, and the non-PNM support would have risen from 50.2 to 53.9%. Alright, a marginal increase in the non-PNM vote and a marginal decrease in the PNM vote, but just enough to swing the election to the non-PNM side. So the non-PNM forces would have won the seat in 2010. And then we go to 2015 now. We had a huge upswing, right? The PNM would have jumped from 45.8% to 59.2%. That is a jump of 14%. just about 13 point something, 13.4 I think, somewhere thereabouts, right? And then 13.4, 45 and 13 is 58. 45, 58, 13, yeah, 13.4. I'd like to get my figures correct now, right? Right? And then it dropped from 53.9% to 40.8% on the non-PNM side. So they would have scored a similar drop of just about 13.1%. So they dropped by 13.1 and this increased by 13.2, which suggests in San Fernando West a high turnover, a high rate of flipping of non-UNC to PNM, right? That seems to be the suggestion, right? Because look at it, marginal increase just about 4 or 5%. Same story here, marginal decrease just about 4 or 5%, and it seems to be mirroring each other. We would have seen that phenomenon in Barataria San Juan as well. Now, the trend lines here suggest that the PNM vote will move even further away from the UNC vote. So the figures that I have here on the basis of my calculation are looking at a 60-40 split in 2020, right? 60% for the PNM, 40% for the UNC. We just have about the same thing here in 2015, 60-40. So we're more or less looking at a maintenance of current trends from 2015 carrying over into 2020. And that is a very important concept in the absence of any nationwide clamor of anti-PNM sentiment. All right, so we're gonna switch back now to the whiteboard and conclude with a short discussion. Yes, so San Fernando West is a very interesting kettle of fish, because when I did my calculations to find out the rankings for the marginal seats, that was the biggest shock to me, to find San Fernando West coming in at number 2 over the entire country. Right? I wasn't expecting San Fernando West to be above St. Joseph, or even to be above Barataria San Juan. Barataria San Juan came in at number 6. All right. So San Fernando West is one of those, I would call it a creeper. It is a seat where you might think it's sleeping, when in truth and in fact it might actually be creeping. Right? Here we have to rhyme it a little bit too, you know. So this is one of the seats where the incumbent would be ill-served to become complacent. This is not a seat to play with. Right? Now, even though the trends appear very strong in the sense that San Fernando West is one of those seats that seems again to respond to national sentiment, they still have to be careful. So just like St. Joseph, which we would have done in the previous video, anytime you have a national sentiment one way or the other, for or against the PNM or the non-PNM party, you find that San Fernando West would usually fall in line with that, right? And the most notable example in the San Fernando context would be 1986, where San Fernando West went along with the NAR as opposed to San Fernando East, which stuck with the PNM. All right, so there's a clear, what's the other looking for? There's a clear difference in the electorate between San Fernando East and San Fernando West. San Fernando West is a slightly different kettle of fish. Based on the numerical data there, it seems to me that the electorate in San Fernando West have a lot of the electorate, a fair portion of the electorate, have no problem switching from UNC to PNM and back, or PNM to UNC and back. So that is a seat where you don't take votes for granted. You don't really have, I mean, yes, there will be pockets of PNM support in San Fernando West, and there will be pockets of UNC support in San Fernando West. And then there's a little pocket in the middle where, to use the American lingo, it could swing any way depending on the national sentiment, probably depending on the candidates, who the candidates are as well. All right, so San Fernando West, really, really interesting seat. and that seat came in at number 2 in the rankings of marginal. So there's a real quiet sense in which San Fernando West could shift at any moment, right? A real creeper. But again, on the basis of the figures that we have so far, and absent any strong anti-PNM, any strong anti-government, any strong anti-incumbent sentiment on the ground, all right, I can reasonably and confidently put San Fernando West in the PNM column for 2020. Of course, not a seat to be trifled with. That is one of those seats where every vote will count. All right, so that's more or less it for San Fernando West. And as I always do, I'm making the plug for my business one, and in this video I will add another business in San Fernando West. So I'm going to start off with the other business. This business that I'm referring to, and I'm going to read it off my phone now, is Inspire Graphics Studio. So we're talking about a place that does graphic design and stuff, right? And I'm reading off here. They do visual presentations for your business or your organization, logos, business cards, flyers, brochures, banners, signage, tickets, posters, brand identity designs. You're looking for any of them things? Then check Inspire Graphics Studio. The contact numbers for Inspire Graphics Studio are 324-4452 and 794-7538. So you have a DDCell number and you have a B-Mobile number. So I'm going to call it in the reverse order now. The contact numbers for Inspire Graphics Studio are 794-7538, 794-7538, and 324-4452. So, graphics design, anything along that line, Inspire Graphics Studio is the place to go. And that business is located smack dab in the heart of the constituency of San Fernando West. Now, let me talk about my maths. So we're talking San Fernando West. So my online class, my face-to-face class wouldn't be too much of an option in terms of people coming from San Fernando, because my class will be based in Tunapuna. All right. But the nice thing about my online setup, the road to January, is that you could use that in tandem with whoever else your teacher may be. So you go to class, you go to your private lessons, you go to class in school, you do your maths, you do your work there, and then you come home and you have my online platform as a backup, as a supplement, something that you could use to add to enhance whatever work you do with whoever else you do it with. All right. So the online platform, the road to January, the price is the princely sum of $500 for the rest of the year. Yes, it is what we like to refer to as dirt cheap, but this is one of the ways in which I am doing my part to kind of carry the burden, in a sense, where the COVID is concerned, right? A lot of people would have been affected in one way or another by the onset of the COVID pandemic in Trinidad and Tobago. And now that we have a second wave, we really don't know how the thing will go. So we don't want to make money a problem, right? So the online platform are charging a price that is significantly below the actual value, the actual market value then of what it is. We will fix that later on as things start to get back to some semblance of normalcy. We will carry the price back up. But for now, as part of an incentive, in other words, we're giving people an incentive to get on board, to make money at SU. You don't have money to pay for a lessons teacher. All right. You have the online platform, $500 for the rest of the year. You can't get it better than that. All right. And of course, once you get in, you would find that the greatest expenditure that you'll have to make is an expenditure of time, not money. your time, and of course, once you're in the platform, you'll have some access to my time as well, in terms of being able to ask questions and get certain kinds of assistance as well. Alright? And yes, at some point, not too long in the distant future, we will get to the point of having live Zoom sessions. We put in certain things in place for that too. And of course, the AdMat students, we have something coming up for you, a special setup online for the AdMat students. And yes, we'll have a physical face-to-face class for that as well. We will make the announcement in due course once we're ready to do that. So that is it. San Fernando West, we're calling that for the PNM in 2020. And of course, which brings the final tally now to 40 seats completed in terms of my analysis. And of those 40, based on my count so far, the PNM would be ahead, looking to win in 22 of those 40 seats, and the UNC in 18. So at this point, with 40 seats completed, the score so far is PNM 22, UNC 18. We have one more seat to do. That is the marginal seat of Moruga Tableland. So stick around. Alright, we have plenty more coming your way.